and to have been there all these years. And this year they announced that they have a new CEO, and Tom used to be with eSpace up in Boulder. So I'm just pulling Tom's name. He's a new CEO starting right now. He's retired Rear Admiral from the United States Navy. Starts on April 30th. I think he'll do a great job. I think we'll have a really great CEO stepping in there for next year's symposium. It was a little too quick for him to jump in and get his feet wet for this one. But the team there, Shelley and Steve Eisenhart and Brian and everybody from Sadie all the way through the entire ranks is just, they do such a great job. So
I know you asked me to go and I wasn't able to pull that off. But I heard there were some great events.
Yep.
So I heard you party, right, with the Japanese people on Wednesday? That's what I heard.
Well, it's a little more than that. So we start off on the official opening is on Monday, and there are a couple of pre-events. But the Monday event is really when it starts, and they have an exhibit center. And I think this year it was sponsored by Boeing. And starting Monday all the way through Thursday, it's the symposium is really meeting after meeting after meeting, talking about current issues in space, aerospace, and defense, everything from space weather to operational space to launch vehicles. Anything you could think of that might be a topic is addressed at this symposium. And you'll find that most of the people there are the top executives, and then the rest of us are down in the booth area. But the booth area is fantastic, and we had a great support from the University of Colorado as well as LASP. That's where I work. So the team with CU, the engineering, Grand Challenge, Aerospace Ventures, and UCCS, which is the University of Colorado Springs, we just really had a great booth this year. And everybody, I think, that went had a great time, and that's where I picked up all three of our guests today.
Oh.
I walked around and tried to find fun people. I want to shift our topics from academics more to some of the industry leaders, so we're reaching out to some industry leaders and finding ways to get them on the air.
Absolutely. Well, we're Edgar. We're so glad to have you here today. We are going to hear from lots of interesting people from all over the aerospace industry. We will have you introduce them in our next segment.
That's right.
And
Okay. And what would a massive satellite look like if 1,000 kilograms is still a small? What would be for our audience? What's 4,000? That's a big piece of machinery.
can you compare that to something like a semi-truck? What are we looking at?
Yeah, what size are we?
Yeah.
Or is it like a beer cooler? Bigger than a bird box?
Right.
Okay. Good reference.
Great.
Perfect. I know exactly that size.
That is
That's
also a good reference point.
And that's going to launch next year? Okay. Now, one of the work in nature. And that aircraft, you can get in and actually see from the inside what it was like to fly in a 1960 helicopter on a rescue mission.
I love the fact that it's... Go ahead, sorry.
And you know, his daughter lives up in Evergreen.
Okay.
It's very active in the space industry. Steve, tell us a little bit more about some of your collectible pieces and what outside of the actual museums, but your collection. What do you think's the most exciting piece other than that stamp, the 4-cent stamp? Well, that's a pretty amazing piece. I've said many times from the podium or from here even, if we think about it, aerospace in its own nature and the space realm that we now take for granted is less than 75 years old. What came over after the Second World War was really rocketry from the perspective of a destructive force, and after that we've converted into an instructive force where we're learning and discovering and putting things into space and going to other planets as the result of that early technology. So having a letter like that signed from Werner von Braun is really quite a piece of history, and realizing it's such a recent history. It's not as far back as we think. That's for sure. What other pieces, you'll share a little bit about your new news, and then with the report that just came out, and then you and I can talk a little bit about our shared experience on Friday with our friends from Japan.